Hello and welcome to Japanese in 5, where we take really just 5 minutes. That's all we're going to take, and we're going to teach you some Japanese, and there's no more excuses. You can go back to Xbox and your other busy life things after this lesson. This is number 20, and we're going to be talking about a really common subject that beginners come up with, but if you're an advanced user, this still might help you out a little bit. We're going to talk about wa and ga particle usage, because people still mess this up, although it's not that important. You can mess it up, honestly. Let's talk about why. First, let's talk about using wa to set the topic. This is the main function of wa. For example, one of the very first sentences you can learn is how to say, I am something, and that would be just simply, watashi wa George desu. I am George. Watashi wa insert name desu. Watashi wa George desu. Okay? I am George. What you're really saying is, hey, speaking of me, watashi wa George desu. Now, the sentences are easy if you think about wa as meaning is, am, are, and all of those type of things that actually desu means. But if you think of wa as is, am, and are, and was, it actually matches up really perfectly when you're looking at translations. For example, kore wa omoshiroi desu. This is interesting. If you think about it that way, it makes it a little bit easier. That is not what it is doing. Des, the verb des at the end, is what means is, am, and are, and all of those other copula words. I hate the word copula. Any book that uses it needs to be off the market, because no one knows what that means. But basically it means is, am, are, was, were, be, being, been, had, all of the auxiliary verbs. We don't even mention that in the book, but that's what that is. All right, let's look at another one. Ashita wa kinyoubi desu. Tomorrow is Friday. All right? A little bit more longer sentence. Kino wa watashi no tanjoubi deshita. Kino wa watashi no tanjoubi deshita. Yesterday was my birthday. Notice that that wa falls right where the is, the am, and the was are. And that kind of is a little bit of a hint to help you remember the function or the placement of wa. This is the main rule about wa that you need to know, though. Everything before the wa is the topic or part of the topic, generally speaking, and everything after the wa is a question or a description of that topic. Let's look at an extremely advanced sentence, a big sentence to prove that this is the case, no matter how complicated the sentence gets. This is, 昨日山形さんがみんなの前で言ったことは、今まで聞いた話よりも意味深いです。Let's do it again, more in the drama voice. 昨日山形さんがみんなの前で言ったことは、今まで聞いた話よりも意味深いです。The thing that Yamagata-san said yesterday in front of everybody, that's the topic, was much more deeply meaningful than the other talks I have heard up until now. That's the description of the topic. It doesn't matter how advanced the Japanese gets, that's what wa does in these sentences. Here's a rule that you need to remember. Don't serve the topic twice. What do I mean? Let's look at the way English works. If you look at this typical thing where I'm introducing my friend Yumiko, I'm going to say, Yumiko is my friend. She is from Japan. She is 22 years old. She works at the same company as me. I just said 3 she's in a row to prop up the topic. I'm essentially reminding people that I'm talking about a girl, and she is Yumiko. In Japanese, we do not do that. They do not use pronouns like kanojo and kare and watashi and anata to continually prop up the topic. It doesn't happen. Instead, it sounds like this if you translated it into English. Yumiko is my friend, is from Japan, is 22 years old, works at the same company as me, and this is what it would look like. Yumiko-san wa watashi no tomodachi desu. 日本から来ました。22歳です。私と同じ会社で働いています。And here is a rule of thumb. I hope I don't run out of time. We might go a little bit over. Don't use wa twice in one sentence. This is a good rule. Okay? When you think you need a second wa, just use ga and you'll almost always be correct. For example, 私は東京が好きです。You cannot and should not say 私は東京は好きです。Unless you're doing stressing, which we'll talk about in a second. 私は東京が好きです。I like Tokyo. All right, we are going to go over. I apologize. It's going to be Japanese in 6 or 7 today. 私の友達はピザが食べたいです。My friend wants to eat pizza. Notice that it felt like maybe I could have a wa there. a second wa. But no, if you ever want to do a second wa, just default to ga, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to be correct. Here's a second rule of thumb. There will always be a topic. Why do I say that? Well, remember the rule is if you want to use a second wa, then use ga, then you might think, well, look at this sentence. Tokyo ga suki desu. What does that mean? There's no subject. There's no topic there. Sorry, there's no topic. Well, the topic is always there. If I, out of the blue, say Tokyo ga suki desu, it means I like Tokyo. It's assumed that I am the topic. This is very, very common in Japanese. But if we are talking about your mother, we've said 3 or 4 things about your mother. Someone served up the topic your mother, and then on the 4th sentence in, they say, "Ya, hontou ni Tokyo ga suki nan desu yo." Whatever version of that sentence. Yeah, she really likes Tokyo. Tokyo ga suki desu becomes she likes Tokyo. That's what context does to Japanese. This is why Japanese translation machines and translation websites tend to screw up, because they can't keep track of the pronoun. They don't know if it's a she or a he or an it, because Japanese doesn't say it. All right? This is the final thing. We're running over. I apologize. Wa is for stressing. This is a really important thing to know, because this screws up so many people. What do I mean by that? Typically where ga is used, if you want to stress, you're going to use wa. And the hard part about this is when you're looking to use ga normally, you'll use wa to stress. They flip around. Did I just say the same thing twice? I don't know if I did. Ga stresses for wa stresses for ga. That's what I'm trying to say. Let's look at this sentence. Watashi wa neko ga suki. Dakedo, I like cats. However, inu wa kirai desu. Typically with suki and kirai, you use ga. Ga typically marks the thing that you like. It's a subject marker. But here you're stressing. You're saying dogs. I don't like dogs. I like cats, but I don't like dogs. This is the last example. This is where wa is typically used, but ga is the stress. Anata wa Tanaka-san desu ka? You're at a party, someone comes up to you. Anata wa Tanaka-san desu ka? Are you Tanaka-san? Speaking of you, are you Tanaka? Now he could have also said, sumimasen, excuse me, Tanaka-san desu ka? Are you Tanaka? But remember, even though he didn't say anata wa, there is always a topic. It's just assumed. If he doesn't say it and he's looking at me and he's talking to me, he means anata wa. It's assumed. All right? So my response is, no, that guy over there is Tanaka. Iie, kare ga Tanaka desu. Iie, kare ga. I'm pointing, I'm stressing. No, he is Tanaka, not me. As you learn wa and ga rules, you'll realize that sometimes wa can replace ga, and ga can replace wa like we just did in the stressing. But there's other times where Japanese people mix them up, and there's other times where Japanese people literally drop them from the sentence, so that it can be very confusing. This final rule that we're going to talk about is a rule that never changes, and they never drop the particle that we're getting ready to talk about. It is the rule of using wa with question words. And the rule is very simple. You can never ever use wa directly after a question word. You must use ga. And you won't drop the ga. You typically will keep the ga there. Let's look at some sentences. Party ni dare ga kimasu ka? Who is coming to the party? Here, there is no wa. You can never have a wa directly after a question word. So it must be dare ga and not dare wa. In the next sentence, we have nanji ga ii desu ka? Nanji ga ii desu ka? What time is good? You must use a ga. You can never say nanji wa ii desu ka? And for our final sentence, maybe you're in New Orleans or in Osaka and you've never been there and you want to say to your Japanese friend, hey, where is fun here? That's kind of a weird thing to say. Where is fun? But that's what they say in Japanese. Doko ga tanoshii desu ka? Doko ga tanoshii desu ka? You cannot say doko wa tanoshii desu ka? That is it. Thank you for watching Japanese in 10 minutes or so. See you later. Bye-bye.